Yeah.
Welcome to another Stream Team Gaming thing. This time I'm finishing
Yes.
up Spiderman.
Yes, what wondrous entertainment watching you play Spider-Man, where you're too distracted to even make good commentary.
Well, I should be able to make a slightly better commentary on this. We will see,
You
though.
Is that what last time showed?
We will see.
You made better entertainment on Elden Ring, because at least you gave us the nice reactions of you being like, yes!
Well, occasionally, okay. I'm expecting some Asmongold level of commentary here, dear.
I have not watched any of Asmongold's content, so I have no context.
Well, then I suggest you do periodically.
Okay.
I've only been talking about watching that particular channel and gaming stream for a while now.
Asmongold?
Mm-hmm.
Is he the Elden Ring one?
Yeah.
He does everything, actually.
Yeah, I only know him from you saying Elden Ring. I think I've seen this guy. I haven't seen any of his videos, but I think I recognize the face.
But generally speaking, I'm just saying, okay, we're expecting some commentary here.
Sure.
Also, I look up Asmongold, and one of the videos is Velma Season 2 cancelled. I hope that's true.
Let me see, what do I got? Okay, skills fully upgraded, gadgets fully upgraded. Okay, let's...
Oh,
All right, let's
by
head
the
up
way,
to the
Dunn. You know that Matt Hat made another theory channel?
Really?
I believe so, because I recently saw a blue one, and I was like, wait, what? Let me confirm. Pretty sure it was real.
Rhino's assaulting the Upper West Precinct. Electro's at the Upper East. We need you to turn the tide. Head to either. They're both equally screwed.
It just came up in my suggested. He has game, film, food, and then I remember seeing a new blue one, and I'm like, did he make a fourth somehow?
Alright, let's grab the Rhino and kick his ass.
We need help at Feast's sister's side uptown.
The Veteran Center in Harlem.
The hell is the Rhino?
From Rikers are demanding.
Oh, you'll see.
Do you not know?
Barricaded inside, but they need help.
How would I
Remember
know?
the Sinister Six.
Don't do anything until I get there, man.
Have you seen Amazing Spider-Man 2?
I hope she isn't sick.
Are we talking a movie or are we talking animation?
It's a movie.
He's like,
then yeah, I probably have, but
Alright,
Rhino.
there's been like 4 million Spider-Man movies, so you have to be a little clearer for me.
The one where Gwen Stacy dies.
I'm nearly there.
Still not helping. Okay, who is playing Spider-Man in it?
Andrew Garfield.
Okay.
The skinnier.
Right. Nope, I know that one. So,
Done.
Who are the main antagonist? Can I talk? I told you I've been yelling at men all day.
Continue.
Don't get that little tone of voice with me either.
That is the Rhino.
Okay, I see. But no, so who is the main antagonist in Spider-Man 2?
That would be Electros, and Green Goblin makes an end game cameo.
And if I remember,
let's take him down.
And if I remember correctly, Rhino's in there in just like the last few minutes.
I'm gonna even the odds.
Maybe that's why I don't remember it too much.
Which is why I was saying I don't think that's a good example for why you should remember the Rhino. He's basically like an end credit scene. Rhino is a fairly popular antagonist for Spider-Man, though. He's just not normally a main.
Right, let's send out some spider.
He's just normally one of the big main reoccurring villains, like Sandman and shows and all, because he be brute strength.
Making quick hit and runs on the city's emergency
Really like Rhino in Spectacular Spider-Man the show.
Yeah, where he just wants to personally get back at Spider-Man and hates him.
Yep, and I just love the voice actor. He even before he goes Rhino, he has like the crazy eyes permanently. Like someone tortured him with just making sure his eyeballs never close as he stares at a screen. I
Alright,
love that
let's
show.
grab that. Yeah, that's a great show. That's one of the better adaptations of Spider-Man.
It just has such good voice acting.
Yeah, it's got Clancy Brown as
So I see you're talking to yourself in chat, Shy.
Did the Aspiring Writer show.
Oh, I guess so. That's going to confuse me.
oh, that's gonna be fun.
Oh wait, were you actually confused? I thought you were making a joke.
No.
Okay, let's see. Where are the bad guys? Where are you?
Yes,
bad guys?
hello, the Aspiring Writer, my nemesis.
I was thinking your clone.
No, you're more likely to be a clone of me than the Aspiring Writer. He's like the shadow version of me. He's like my opposite.
Okay, they're the bad guys.
But yeah, there's a food. I already knew about the food spin-off one. That's his. So he has the game theory, film theory, GT Live, food theory, and then I saw another one very recently come up in my suggested, and I'm like, what is this? I'm trying
Let's do a
to
couple
see if I can find it. I swear, I'm not lying. It might. The Style Theorists. Yes, he made another channel called The Style Theorists.
Well, I don't know who had the name first.
Alrighty. Let's grab some
I
more
had the
bad guys,
name
shall we?
first.
I'm not gonna let that happen. I'm on it.
Alright, let's
But yeah, the Aspiring Writer. There is a fourth one called The Style Theorist. I don't know. Oh, someone's next stage done. Codex. Or
Oh,
no,
lovely.
Ninjato. Ninjato, use oh, you did. I just didn't notice you because I'm in comments.
Hello.
Hello. Ninjato, have you heard of Matt Pat's newest theory channel?
I don't care about MatPat. I've
Neither
seen a
do
couple of
I.
his videos, and that's it.
I used to
Sorry,
watch
we
it
got
and
some
stopped
Sega
when it
agents.
became bad, but I'm just so amused at the fact he made another one, since it's basically a meme now that he does that.
Guys, we're on the same team. Way to
And
attack.
Style Theorists, why? That's not even his thing.
Anyone else feeling very
So you're using the big time suit?
Just me?
big time suit.
Yeah. The costume that Spider-Man wore.
Nice to see you, Spider. How about some payback?
Also, it's been up for 2 weeks and has over 1 million subscribers. Sort of the coronavirus? I remember he said... I remember watching it, but I don't remember what he even said. Nor do I pay attention to the controversies. Honestly, I kind of tune him out.
I love how Shy's just going on having a conversation with himself.
Well, you guys aren't currently being engaging right now, so I have to engage with someone. Or right now, myself seems to be the most interesting one here. You guys should pick up the pace.
Just, oh my god. We've been giving Kai shit about, doing some narrating or some commentary. So Ninja comes in and starts asking about the Spider-Man suit. And you're just going on about some channel that I don't even
Yeah.
know what the fuck you're talking about.
Yeah. It's,
Which Spider-Man suit? Like, this isn't the endgame suit. This is the
no, this
stealth
is big
suit.
time from. So this was the suit in the comics. It's comics one at the beginning of Dan Slott's run of Spider-Man. And yeah, the suit's cool. Spider-Man comics has not been good since Clone Saga.
All right.
Yeah. I know
Okay,
that the
so-
comics
Are-
are bad, and then-
So
Like
wait,
J. Michael Straczynski is the only Spider-Man writer that most Spider-Man fan really like. But every time I think about that run, I always think about the stupid stuff that he was forced to write.
Precinct is secure.
question, since you seem to know better,
Target. That's fun.
are most of the suits in this game references to real suits in comics and stuff?
Yes,
Deal with Electro.
Yep.
Call you when I'm
pretty
ready.
much. Most of them
Wow.
are a reference to a previous Spider-Man suit in some way.
Wow, it's like the voicemail.
There are
I
a couple
didn't
that are
realize-
original for this game.
I assume so, which is why I said most, but okay, I'm surprised, because I've only ever known Spider-Man to have, like, a few suits, being his, like, original, the symbiote, the Iron Spider, and that's it. I
so
didn't
what I-
realize he had a million.
Oh yeah, so they include alternate universe Spider-Man from like every time, occasionally when Marvel does their different continuity, like when they did like Noir line, they had a Noir Spider-Man, or like 1620, they had a Spider-Man because Spider-Man is the Marvel hero.
I am right now really, since you said alternate universe, I'm now wishing we had some of the Spider-Verse characters as costumes. Those would be cool to see.
Yeah, this game came out the same year as the movie, so that's partly why they don't show it. I'm expecting it to have more references to
Police inside.
at least some of the, like, from Across the Spider-Verse.
Complicated was an understatement.
I kind of hope
And-
so, because those would be funny.
Even if you manage that.
Having to wear a suit that's a magic trench coat that flaps with an invisible unknown wind or non-existent wind.
When they did Miles Morales, they had a way they copied the animation style of Into the Spider-Verse.
Yeah. And clone me
Well,
in
Ryder
chat.
is saying in the chat that you can get the Spider-Verse version of Peter in this game.
Yeah, I was
Yes.
about to mention
That's a
that,
free
which
costume. There's a
Yeah,
bunch
I-
of free costumes.
I assume that would be in there, but I'm mostly referring to the really unique ones. Like the one, like fucking hell, even Peter Porker would be funny to see. You get like a benefit of being a smaller target in the game. It's just this thing. Once you complete the game, you can get it, just to have a little bit of fun with it.
Oh yeah. It depends on what they're going to do with the next game. It seems to be
ouch.
that
I
it's
died. Ouch, that sucks.
Yikes!
it seem- Oh yeah, Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions. My favorite Spider-Man game before this game came out.
Even if you manage that, they'll still.
I've only played one Spider-Man game, which is the one on the Wii.
Which one on
And
the
I-
Wii?
I don't know. I think 3, and I don't remember finishing it.
3 is not that great.
The only reason I played it is because every time I went to the dentist, they had a little computer with that game. And so that would be the only thing I do for possibly hours.
Ow. That was me with Infinity Blade for a while. And then they discontinued the game, and I am very, very sad.
So many games lost.
Man, I did not miss dealing with Electro's elaborate supervillain antics while he was in the raft. Trapping the police with a network of energy transformers? Who does that?
So you're going to get a lot of replayability out of this one?
I think so, actually.
I would. You will have a very good, long time playing it, but in terms of replayability, it's one of the simpler open world games to finish. And like you can easily 100% it, which is both a good thing where it respects your time, but if you want to spend like hundreds of hours on it, it doesn't have that feature.
Okay.
Well, you know, I guess it's kind of one of my things of I like games that have a lot of continued playability, you know, even after you beat it. Because to me, I mean, yeah, sure, for a lot of people, you know, $60 may not seem like a lot of money. And at certain times in my life, it's not a lot of money. But still, it's kind of like, you know, if I pay $60 or whatever for a game, I guess I want it to be a game that I'm really going to like. Like, for instance, like Call of Duty. And, you know, I can't play that one anymore because the servers aren't available unless you know, break your Wii, basically. But it's kind of like, I get why they don't want, you know, people to just play for hundreds of hours unless it's got, you know, where you're spending a lot of money in game. But I don't know. And you guys, I listened to you guys, and you seem to really like okay, well, I got through it and I beat it, and you know, you'll maybe play it a little bit periodically, but it's kind of seems to be all about okay, well, how fast can I get through the game? And I'm just like, okay, well, you spent good money on that game. Why is it so important to just kind of run your way through it, even if you do it 2 or 3 times? Because I don't know, I guess it's just a different point of view. Always makes me curious.
Like I played like this game, I think I played about 40 hours. Like 40 hours, which it depends on game. Like open world games, I think the sweet spot in terms of game length where is 40 hours to do like 100%. Because 40 hours of great gameplay. Because most open world games have a problem where they just throw in a lot of pork. Where yeah, there's like over 60 hours of gameplay, but most of that is just a bunch of other gameplay elements that are not fun.
Well, I guess, I mean, in one respect, 40 hours seems okay, but honestly, if I buy a good game, I want to play it for months or years. You know, I want to go back and enjoy it. Like, I still go back and play freaking Zelda or whatever, and I may only play like little portions of it just because, oh, hey, I'm having that Zelda itch, you know, so I just kind of want to go back and play it for a while or something.
I would
And it's
say,
just it's not good or bad either way. It's just interesting that there are different takes on it. And I think, I don't know, but I think it might be kind of a generational thing too.
Well, I was gonna say, hope you weren't including me in that, because my logic initially, before I was actually buying games, was if I buy a game, it better be one I can keep playing for a long time, which is why I got Minecraft, because that one is basically, you can play as long as you fucking want. And with the updates, there's always something new. I tend to play games for a long time. Breath of the Wild, I took 2 or 3 months because I didn't go for the final boss forever. Hollow Knight, I just try 100%ing everything, every little bit. Still haven't, and still going for it.
Wow.
Yeah,
Oh, go for it.
for me, it just depends on for me, like the games that I really love, I want to replay, even though I 100% complete it.
Yeah.
Like if the game is great enough, I don't mind restarting at the beginning and just play through it again.
The nice thing about this game is that it gives you the opportunity for New Game Plus, so you have everything as far as I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like all the cosmetics and stuff, and you can customize.
Yeah, and I know I bring the game up a lot, but Hades is one where you complete the main game, but there's like a lot of difficulty levels because you can basically add a little heat level to make it harder in some way, like give the enemies more health or something. You can choose your challenge. And that I've technically completed the game, but I bought it again because I got it on hold, and I'm like, I'm having the Hades itch. I'm just gonna buy it because I really want to keep playing it, and because of the difficulty level, it has a lot of replayability for me because I'm having a challenge still, despite having finished everything. Because the game gets fucking difficult.
Flat or spring or mountain.
So yeah, I definitely get the whole I want to be able to play this game forever.
Am I interrupting?
No.
That's what
MJ,
I
Ms.
normally
Watson
used to
and I
do.
were just talking
Only
strategy.
recently started doing otherwise.
Strategy.
That's right. The city is in danger. It needs our help.
All of our help.
Oh, Edge of Time.
Coach.
I haven't played it since it launched, and it was my first major disappointment of a game. A game where I was hyped because of Shattered Dimensions and horribly disappointed.
We need to find the cure and protect it.
I'll chase down some leads.
Miles.
Well, what about, I know Kai doesn't like these, but what about mods?
I don't mind mods. Some games you have to, in order to play the proper experience, you need mods like KOTOR 2.
Taking the city apart piece by piece.
Yeah,
I don't have any.
I might return the favor.
With Dead Space, I did use some mods that White gave me because apparently they suck. The game is broken unless you put some fixes in.
Heard the same for Skyrim, but I have nothing against mods. I've just never used them before. And honestly, I wish I could.
I kind of.
That'd be so cool.
Come on, Sherlock. Show me
I, for one, would be more interested in, like, I have a few that I have modded. I tried modding, I think,
Miles is watching feast. Tracking a devil's breath cure.
I think it was
stopping whatever he has planned.
Battle Familiar 2.
Yuri, we need to start tracking the big boys. Still no leads on Octavius?
No, nothing. Forensics can't even do a sweep of Times Square.
Want to deal
Okay,
with
this
the
is
door
going.
What?
Sorry, I was just gonna say this might seem like a dumb question, but until recently, I either played really, really old PC games, right? Or just console games. So, for instance, like the Elden Ring mod, the randomizer, which I find really interesting. Not that I've played it, just I've watched some of it. So, if you have a mod like that, is it actually changing the base game, as in you can't go back to the regular game, or you can just uninstall the mod, or you can only use the mod when you want to use the mod?
Spiderman, here to lend a hand? Thought you might need one, officer.
I've never heard of a permanent mod, is what I'll say. I don't know about turning it on or off.
News reports say this is where auto-release Devil's Breath.
I was just kind of curious, although I haven't like Googled it or anything. But
maybe I can isolate.
Yeah, like I said, I have never used mods, so I wouldn't know. I just have never heard of a mod being permanent, so I assume you can uninstall all of them. Sounds like a bad idea if you can't do that.
Well, I would think, especially like when Elden Ring will definitely have some, updates with new content here and there.
Yeah.
Have you guys heard of a game that's in development? It is an MMO, but it's called PAX D or DEI? PAX space DEI?
No.
Pax Dia? I might have heard of it.
Yeah, I have no idea when it's actually going to come out, but I guess they've just been putting some information out there. And yeah, I just have to say the graphics on that look amazingly gorgeous. Like, better than, like Elden Ring and stuff. But honestly, I don't know. Well, they did have it playing on a tablet. So
What kind of game is
hopefully MMO.
it? Okay.
But yeah, I was just thinking of Ty's always talking about how gorgeous Elden Ring is, and I saw some of the screenshots of that, and they have like a little bit of teaser video, from the gameplay, but just wow.
Should be able to track the dispersal path now.
A friend of mine, while I was in a VC for a bit, was playing a game called Wo Long Fallen Dynasty, and the graphics in that looked pretty good too. I was like, holy crap, what is this game? Had a very Chinese aesthetic.
Isn't that like the new Neo game? Who developed that? Was it let me just check for a sec. I don't think it's from Soft.
Ninja? Team Ninja?
Oh, okay, yeah. Those guys.
I asked for my friend for the game, and he gave me a link, but he's from Hungary, so the link and the description that's embedded in it is all in a language I don't understand. But I can at least see Team Ninja. I'm like, I can understand those 2 words, therefore that's the name of the company or whatever. There are only 2 English words in this entire description.
Okay, dear, so what's your objective now?
I'm trying to follow the trail of purple DNA breadcrumbs.
Purple!
I know, don't jizz yourself, aspiring.
Today I was continuing my Bond marathon with some friends, and we watched Man with the Golden Gun.
Wrong direction.
And
I haven't seen that in a while.
Yeah, it's the one with Christopher Lee as the main villain.
He is awesome.
Yes, he is good. The movie, though, I objectively I put it on D, though I did enjoy it a lot. But it's not it's a D tier movie. It has tons of problems. It has an entire.
I think that might be the case with. I think that's kind of the case with most early Bond movies.
No, not really. Actually, they're very solid for what they are.
I just know that kind of maybe it's like what I understand of stuff like the Roger Moore era is apparently the Goofy era.
Well, yeah, Live and Let Die is but here's the thing, it really depends on Roger Moore so far. This is the second Roger Moore film. The first one was Live and Let Die, where
what's this now?
It's actually a pretty good. I really enjoyed it. It was a pretty good Bond film.
Yeah,
and
I don't. Keep going.
Old man Vulture.
But Man with the Golden Gun, the main there's a couple of main problems. There's a lot of leaps in logic, and they have an entire character, one of the Bond girls, the one who doesn't die, get killed, is an idiot.
Otto must have used
Like,
this-
beyond moronic, that the plot requires her to be a moron, even though she's a moron to the point that makes you question how on earth is she an agent.
Well, in a way, sadly, that is kind of a Bond girl theme somewhat.
No, it's not.
markings.
Seeing these films, no, it's not.
Vulture doing
All right. As
They-
someone who is
she-
completely ignorant,
Working off
please
more like
try and inform me what you mean.
going after the Devil's Breath anti-serum.
What do you mean? Oh,
I
okay,
I haven't seen these. Why is she
Okay.
particularly dumb in comparison, and why?
Okay, so she is given. First off, she is given a major plot MacGuffin item that does like nuclear energy, like like
Ottawa.
solar energy stuff.
There is
Okay,
a secret, is there?
as part of like this operation that is like the twist where Bond first meets the main villain, right? And she sees a little midget who's one of the henchmen, a dwarf.
Little midget.
Yes,
I
it's
think
a
that's
little.
the definition of
it's-
midget.
Yes, yes, and he's actually one of the most fun characters in the series. So he gets into a car, and her job was simply to wait outside as his agent.
Are you okay?
What she did is that she decided to go investigate the car.
Running for the anti-serum. We need to find Oscorp's Devil's Breath lab before he
I think the idea was that she was going to plant a tracking device in there. She ends up getting captured and put in the trunk.
Okay, but that doesn't sound
No,
dumb.
no.
It's like
Okay, before then, she has unfortunately, but was given this voice that sounds like a complete, like she sounds like an idiot. Then, in this sequence where she gets captured, she talks to Bond on the radio. She brought the keys with her, forcing Bond to grab the car and to steal a car, leading into a chase sequence. Okay? And it's treated as an idiot. Next idiot. Next idiot. She's in a flying car plane. She opens up the backside of the trunk because she feels, Bond, the car stopped. She opens up the hood, accidentally drops the radio when she sees that she's in the air, pulls it back in, and then another point in the film, near the film, she kills one of the henchmen who was just there just to be killed off. She knocked him out, and he fell into a big a special
Turbine?
reactor thing where it has to be at absolute zero, otherwise the whole place is going to explode. And that's just like the preview. It's like one of those things where it's quite hard to articulate. Like, those are like the big examples of like, oh, she's such an idiot. But
I'm sure
like,
it's presented in a way like that. It sounds like contrived, yes, but not particularly like, oh my god, this person is so stupid.
well, it is that way, unfortunately. And which is, it makes it worse is because they had another Bond girl who was like a mistress of the main bad guy who was revealed to be the one who caused the plot to begin with, so that Bond can kill this guy. And then she ends up getting killed, giving the MacGuffin item, which started the whole sequence about cavalcade of idiocy. It's so funny is that same actress who played the first Bond girl comes back as the title character for Octopussy. Don't worry. Double entendres is common with Bond girl names.
Yeah, that's kind of the point of Bond girls in many
Yeah.
respects.
Yeah. But like, it doesn't help that she is like one of 2 cases where Bond girls are like deviated from the norm, where they're more like the Bond films I've been watching, like even from the early on, are very progressive at the time, where the women are not like weak in personality, or they at least have like a role in the story and do stuff in the story. They're not like damsels in distress for the sake of being damsel in distress. Like it makes more.
Keep going.
They have like more interesting stuff going on with the characters, most of them.
I'll say I've never been the biggest Bond fan. I've seen some of them, though I could not tell you which because I don't know the title. That I was just there for a family watch. I've more been of an MI fan.
Yeah, because Mission Impossible is awesome.
Yes. Yes.
I have only seen the first one of Mission Impossible, and this is my first time watching the Bond films.
Oh my god!
I have seen GoldenEye and Skyfall all the way through.
I've seen Skyfall. That one I do know I've seen.
Part of Your Eyes For Your Eyes Only, and most of Tomorrow Never Dies.
Mate, you need to watch the Mission Impossible films. They're fucking great. Especially 5 and 6.
I'm doing one franchise at a time, so...
The nice thing is Mission Impossible is significantly shorter.
Yes, and getting a new film just this summer, which I will be very excited for.
You might want to watch for, I don't know, kind of a laugh, but are you familiar at all with Matt Helm?
No.
I believe it is. That is kind of a... It's a take on a Bond film. Dean Martin plays the quote-unquote Bond character. You know, kind of the womanizing spy character. And don't get me wrong, I absolutely love the Bond films and all of that. I don't have any issues with them. You know, but they are what they are from, you know, the time in which they were made. But Matt Helm's actually pretty enjoyable. I mean, you know, Dean Martin was a sex icon, so, you know.
Is this giving me a slight peckish for rewatching Homecoming?
You know, like...
Oh, I think I remember that. You don't like Homecoming?
I don't like MCU Spider-Man. I think out of the 3 Spider-Man we have, while his movies, I will not argue about the quality about them. Like at least Homecoming's okay for a superhero film, like teen superheroes, and if that's all you care about, fine. But in terms of what makes Spider-Man great, it fails.
Yeah, I remember having an argument like that with you, and
yeah.
While I will, maybe we'll talk about that another time.
Like for me, I was kind of proven right as the trilogy went on. It's like,
okay, all of MCU's been going downhill. So
yeah, Spider-Man No Way Home is kind of the only good movie in Phase 4. Everything else was bad.
It's not their fault. It's just everything.
I hate it when they
But
cheat.
yeah,
I no,
not.
I would say that
Catch my
here's the
breath.
thing, in my opinion. If your Spider-Man in your Marvel universe is not Spider-Man, it affects the entire
Oh
universe.
man.
Because like Spider-Man is like the Superman of
He is
Marvel.
one of the big. He is one of the big three. Yes.
Yeah. And if you get that wrong, get him wrong, you're gonna get most of the other characters.
What
Other
is
parts
the
of the universe.
hell was that?
Oh, which
That's
one?
it.
Sorry, guys, but
Oh yeah, that's from an alternate universe where Spider-Man is a punk rocker from Spider. It's from the
You-
Spider-Geddon event.
Considering a lot of these are meant, like a lot of his costumes are made by him, and probably early on, I could definitely fucking see that.
Hey, Yuri.
oh, that's great.
Yuri. Vulture and Electro are down.
Especially considering the fact I
Also noticed a
do have aspects of the punk rocker in my personality.
Yeah, just imagine Peter having to sue the Mohawk on his mask.
Vulture and Electro were targeting
He's
power
like, I
plants.
need this foam Mohawk on my costume. And imagine how stupid it would look for his first few versions.
I assume you're going after Scorpion?
Yeah. City's
He
already
has
on
like to
the
repair the little foam bit after every battle.
I'll update you when I make progress.
Sounds like a plan.
So, remind me, what are the things in MCU Spider-Man that you kind of find lacking? His character writing, or what do you?
Kind of. I'm not a fault against Tom Holland. I think Tom Holland has, as an actor, is like the best of that in terms of acting, of being able to bounce out moments of seriousness and his goofier side, and being Spider-Man Peter Parker. The problem comes when the writing and the direction, so Spider-Man in the comics is written in a way where he makes stupid decisions, but you completely understand his stupidity and you go along with it. You don't have the feeling of he's a dumb kid. The story takes him seriously. And Homecoming treated the way they kind of treated that aspect turned me off. It felt more like, here's a parody of why you can't have a teenage superhero, which goes against some of the principles. The biggest one is what they did with Uncle Ben.
They didn't really do much with him initially.
No, they did it. They took his role and gave it to Aunt May.
For a minute.
That's not Homecoming's fault.
Neurotoxin.
Oh no, that's the trilogy's fault.
Yeah. I'm not gonna fight for the trilogy. I'll fight for Homecoming.
Great.
But, and I do get where you're coming from in that. But it's.
I also wanted the thing about a Spider-Man film is that it's best when it's best when Spider-Man is a loner. That show like Spider-Man is somebody who
Neurotoxin.
shows up in other people's storyline. Like the only exception is it's a sort of exception is the Fantastic Four. And the sort of exception is that only Johnny Storm.
Okay.
Because Johnny Storm is kind of a rival / best friend.
I do actually get where you're coming with that part, yes.
And instead, they tried to make essentially they regulated the Uncle Ben role to try to be Tony and and Aunt May.
Yes.
And
Which
and then also some of the more minor stuff. Some stuff like
MJ.
that Spider-Man is not in the, is in a private high school instead of a
he's not in
instead of a
private
public high school.
He's not in a
It's-
private one.
The film, like the film in Homecoming was very adamant about like he needed to get paying for
My obsession.
like he need to have that special degree, and the school is for gifted students.
That's something for what Tony, like a scholarship Tony gave him, but he was still in a public high school still.
And
Always trying to shoulder.
that's not how it.
I would need to go back in the film for what it exactly is, but he is in a public high school, but he also seems to be part of some program where Tony is trying to help him out financially or something.
It doesn't. The film didn't really hammer that.
Yeah,
Well,
he,
we see
that
him
is
in a
true that
public
he
high
does not.
school.
admittedly, that is true that he does not have money problems.
Yeah, that's one of the things you hear most, which, yeah, I get, but
It's not really plot relevant.
yeah, it's just it's
I,
not the biggest thing that I need to see.
It's more a problem for adult Peter than teenage Peter.
No, actually, there is, because okay, so money problems is kind of core because it's money problems that kind of drove him to to actually
the
do a
band
wrestling
thing.
career.
Well, he still
not
has
because-
the money
because-
problems before then.
But no, you know why? What was the money problems?
Yeah, he
Yeah,
wanted
it
a
was-
car, right?
Nope. It was actually to
Okay.
help Aunt May and Uncle Ben.
Yeah, it was.
Originally,
They were.
okay.
Yeah, I remember. Spider-Man's normally like really poor. He tries to help out, and then Uncle Ben dies, and he still needs a lot more money to help support May, which makes him go and be a reporter by taking pictures of himself,
Not again.
or a photographer.
I think well, it goes more like, yes, he was support, like it's part of the interesting aspect of Amazing Fantasy 15. I wish you could they dedicated a whole movie to it, because you could do it, because it's essentially a Greek tragedy where, yeah, he does pursue like the wrestling career to support Uncle Ben and Aunt May, but it's also because of his pride. And it's because of his pride that he let the criminal get away, which led to Uncle Ben's death. And the trilogy tries to the whole
Wait,
trilogy tries
sorry. Can I interrupt for just a second?
Mhm.
Because I've somehow lost track. What the heck is going on here, hun?
Basically, what has happened is Scorpion has injected me with fear toxin.
yeah.
So he's hallucinating.
Just talk to me.
Yep.
I can help you.
So you can treat me like all the rest. Containing
Okay, so none of this is actually really happening.
The atrophy.
Yes.
That's why it's so surreal.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Sorry.
No worries.
Got the atrophy. Now I
Continue on.
get back to the lab. Nearly cured.
I do get where you're coming from with some of that. I would assume Peter has gone through some of those struggles when we then first see him in Civil War. And
Here's
then
the thing. Here's the thing. I do not play by that rule. Like, you can't just assume, in my opinion, with some story elements. You can't just put in previous comic knowledge. Like, that's one of the problems, is that when you put it in the middle, they do a lot of changes, but then they also say, hey, for some elements, use your comic knowledge, or like your Spider-Man knowledge, so that to fill in the gaps that we intentionally not answered, and then we're going to contradict those answers that you have in your head canon as this trilogy progresses.
I will mention they are trying to insert a character into an already pre-established universe, which is kind of where I give some leeway, because you need to be able to work with what you've established while trying to get as much as a character in there without contradicting everything. And with those limits, I think they do fairly well, and they would like to leave stuff vague so they can better explain them. Whether or not the explanations they eventually give are satisfying is another thing.
I think they could have done it way better and way more respectful to the source material. I think so how would I do Homecoming? I would make the whole money aspect more blatantly. I would also not have certain characters like Flash Thompson. Why did you have to change him into a smart jock instead of a regular jock if you're just doing the same joke of
that one I can kind of explain. It's because it's a more fitting bully for Peter in today's world. Yeah, the physical jock is what Tom Thompson normally is, but I actually do see what they made him more likely to be able to influence and bully Peter more, because that's how bullies more often are. Especially
there's also the element that there's also the element of the jock bully is seen as a lazy stereotype nowadays that can't really be done that well.
I think it can be done well because Flash Thompson's Spectacular Spider-Man is a jock bully, but I like him and they actually grow him a bit.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. But I think in a movie sense, in a TV show you have time to develop him.
Yes.
I'm also was annoyed with Homecoming that they addressed was that Spider-Man destroyed Flash's car, and I go, how on earth is he gonna be a huge fan of Spider-Man because of it?
Well, I'll agree with that. They don't show in Homecoming though. He's like he's a fan, then he gets the car, and then we see.
Righty that.
What?
Let's just go ahead and forget that ever happened.
He's kind of buff without the suit.
Yeah, that's kind of in the comics, he started out very thin and lanky, and then he becomes muscular after the spider bite.
Spider-Man is one of those people who you don't notice till he's outside of the suit.
That he's buff.
Yes.
Those were some cute little sexy jockey shorts there.
Mm-hmm. By the way, that is an alternate costume that you can unlock.
Yeah, I know. I think it's once you complete it. Yeah.
And it's basically a challenge outfit.
What?
It's a challenge outfit where you can take out an enemy with one punch. They can take you out with one hit.
MJ, hey, mind if I toss a kind of thorny ethical question at you? When is it okay to give up on a friend?
Oh, wow, Pete.
Alrighty, let's switch up the suit. What you guys feeling like? I got the noir suit.
I am a big fan. I really like that spider armor. The Mark IV?
So can you
the
rotate
bulky
it?
one? The one that that one. I am partial to that one, even though it's a battle armor essentially.
Thank you.
Yeah, keep him rotated, and then keep changing costume.
Sod.
I don't like the Mark V.
I was liking that one. Shiny
the Mark
ass.
V, I'm not a big fan of.
If you're gonna do that, you have to go with the black.
All right.
He's got the nicest ass in the black suits.
All right, do a
Can
Secret
you
Wars.
explain why?
Secret War. That's the blue, black and blue. Black and blue. I really like that one.
Okay, with that particular suit, I kind of see what you mean.
Thinking of Otto?
That obvious, huh?
Yeah, understandable though.
And now let me see, jockey short Spider-Man.
Being a true friend means being there.
Yeah.
People lose their way.
There's also Fantastic Four with a bag over his head.
I've seen that one. You showed us that. I'm trying to see in the game.
Maybe if he was ever even in there at all.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks, MJ.
So what do you like better, Spider-Man or Elden Ring?
Oh my god.
They both have pros and cons. I've actually found that Elden Ring is now extremely easy. Now that I've fully upgraded.
Well, yeah, almost everything kind of
Yeah.
gets that way.
That's kind of part of the satisfaction is you go through all of that and then you go through the world maxed out and beat everything to a pulp. Also,
Mhm.
Trip, do you want the image for the jockstrap suit, Spider-Man?
No, I'm okay.
Okay.
I can go out there and find, real life
Porn
images if I want to.
Yeah,
Oh,
you
I'm
can
sure.
find porn if you want. Imagine the amount of Spider-Man porn out there is probably hefty.
It is.
I don't even know. Just know.
Look, we
God.
don't. We all know it's a lot. We don't need to know more.
I didn't say I'd seen it. I just know that by the rules of the internet, it exists.
Yep. And Big Three, meaning he definitely got a lot of it. There are certain characters that just get a lot. Like Raven.
Gotta follow that drone.
Well,
Which
the,
Raven?
the
Raven
Teen
Simone?
Titans, the regular Teen Titans.
Which other Raven did you think I meant?
That's a Raven.
Who's she from? What?
A Disney show.
Which one?
That's a
That's
Raven.
a Raven.
I've never heard of it.
It was like during the time of Sweet Life of Zack and Cody and Hannah Montana.
I don't know. I don't think I remember seeing that. And I watched Sweet Life with Zack and Cody.
I think this was actually pre-Sweet Life of Zack.
No,
and
it was during
Cody.
the same time.
Really?
Yep.
Besides, Wissia provides me with enough.
What?
Giant titty female.
This one high-end spy.
Oh. I thought you were
Images.
Are you
Is-
really talking about last night on Tarek's server?
I don't know where Caillou said he posted that picture on the server, but I didn't see it anywhere.
In the
Not gonna
horny
lie,
posting.
feeling pretty good about
Oh yeah.
Oh, I think I had that muted and never look in there.
It's not exactly very active.
myself.
And also, yeah, I know why. It's not particularly good. It is made. It was made specifically for my war on what's the bot? Clyde. Clyde. My war on Clyde.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
I need to get a
What do you mean?
I think it was because
It was made because Noble.
I think I can afford
tomboys.
Stop the feast.
What? No. Do you not remember, mate?
I do remember that, but you were testing that in general.
Yes, and then you made Horny Boys Chat because I needed a place to put it. And so you made
That's
it.
what
You didn't
she
make it
said.
for Noble. That's seriously what you just went.
Yes.
That is
God.
disappointing even for you.
It was worth it. It was worth it. It made her laugh.
True. I will give you that. Your humor was so bad it made her laugh.
Oh, sadly,
Oh, my
he and I
goodness.
seem to have the same sense of humor.
I forgot this was the remaster.
I am fine, Peter. Just a little rundown.
Where's Miles?
I like the original model better
He's off picking up medical supplies. from the
Original
food
model.
for
what were the
Peter Parker.
changes?
center. Quickly,
What were the
we'll open
changes?
antibiotics.
Did just upgrade
face.
the look or
The face. They made the face more like Tom Holland's.
Deal.
really?
Give me a
Yeah,
I-
my wounded Parker.
Hmm.
Yeah, I'll get more.
Come on, Miles, answer. Don't make me worry about you.
Okay, I will actually.
There
admit
was
wrong.
like a rights issue.
Huh.
Okay, I concede defeat. It does actually seem it was made for Noble, seeing as the first post you made in it was at Noble Go Nuts. You gave Noble his own channel to put his perversions in.
All right,
Yep.
I'm gonna put it in the lobby
Okay.
on the Discord, an image.
What?
Well, I don't know. I've never really had a problem at all with, I don't know, like video game representations of women and scanty outfits and big tits and yada, yada, yada. You know what I'm talking about. But, or even like anime and stuff like that. But there is a point at which I go, that's
become
literally just
Grotesque.
anatomically impossible. Just and yeah, and unattractive at that point. To me
Yes.
personally.
Basically,
I know
it's
what
gone
you
into
mean.
Parody territory.
It's
I-
what?
It's gone into parody,
Parody
territory.
territory.
Yeah, in some ways. But I don't know.
Because of that, I've often had the
I would
Just-
like more realistic proportions
yeah.
to be in use. I am kind of sick and tired of. I'm really sick and tired of people who's like, hey, we want big booba or big butt women. It's like, why not just have like fully grown women who are less blessed in the chest?
I have made my position clear that I don't care and I appreciate both, because I just don't see why you want one over the other.
Well, everybody does definitely have their preferences, and that's perfectly fine. I mean, like either way, it's just when it swings so extreme, it's just like, okay, no.
The only place you're gonna get that really, most likely, are drawings, and the few people who manage to reach that, they don't exactly lead happy lives. Those aren't exactly good things
Well,
to have.
maybe, but I don't know. Just kind of my personal.
I mean, like, really extreme.
No antibiotics.
Like, to the point where it becomes a health concern.
Well, wait till you see his representation when they get through with that. I mean, it's
Well-
very, very freaking well done. I don't know if he's sent you that, but it is really well done. Whoever he has working on that is quite freaking talented, but I'm still just like, okay, tits way too fucking big and waist way too freaking small, and yeah, she would tip over constantly.
I haven't seen his. I've seen what he last posted in Horny Boys today morning.
I don't know what the fuck that's from. I don't know. I think maybe he told me, but I'm like, I don't know what the fuck that is, and that's terrifying.
In Horny Boys, I think it's like a real picture of someone.
If that's the same thing, that ain't a real fucking picture. Now I have to go look and see if it's the same thing.
It's not the same thing, because he specifically is like, I have found them, they're real. It's not a drawing.
Where the hell? Okay, it may not be a drawing, but it could very well be an AI piece of art. Have you seen current
seen-
AI art?
Yeah.
I mean, it's freaking
I've been watching-
scary is what it is.
I've been watching some of Shad's vids about that, so yes. And it is amazing.
Oh
But,
yeah, that's the same thing. And no, there's literally, I mean, she might actually be built like that, but I can promise you those tits are not fucking real. I will go 100% on that.
I'd believe that. I'm now just imagining Lucifer juggling those breast implants in that one episode with the reporter. Do you remember that?
Which one?
It's
been a
the
long
reporter
time.
episode in season end of season 3. It's in season 3 or 4. It's the reporters like following them around because he's Lucifer. He caught Lucifer fucking his therapist / wife, and so he follows them. And Lucifer just picks up some fake breast implants because it was made in a weird circle and starts juggling them.
I do not remember that one.
Really? Trip?
Oh,
Trip? You remember this? I'm not insane, I know this. Not in this case. I think Trip has died.
I have not,
Okay.
but no, I don't remember it. I'm not saying it whatever, but it's been
Yeah.
a while since I've watched those seasons, so.
Shame. I like that episode a lot. It had, yeah, it had some other jokes as well. But yeah, that was, he was just juggling the breast implants, and that scene just popped in my head since we're talking about this.
So-
I really hope Wissia does not respond for the rest of the day to what you just said, just because.
Speaking of like women and waifus, so this month apparently it's international. It's Women History Month, so I decided to on like other servers daily for the month of March find historical women in anime style and
Is this why I've been seeing the weird option for women-owned businesses specifically as like a
Yes.
search filter? I was wondering about that. I'm like, what? When did this get added? Okay, that makes more sense.
it's one of those things that social media. It's like, yes, we have this special month.
Why do we have to have a special month or a special day or whatever for everything?
Because no one wants to put in the effort to do anything else.
Because it's easy. It's easy marketing.
It makes you look good for when you just have to put in a little bit of effort for like a month and then say, screw it, we're done.
We're moving on to the next group of people to it's just part of marketing. It's like oh, you gotta do the latest, here's the latest month thing, here's how you market this group of people who are interested, who may be interested in these topics.
Well, you know, if I had fuck you money like J.K. Rowling or G.R.R. Martin or, you know,
Brandon
Elon
Sanderson.
Musk or
Technically, Brandon Sanderson has FU money.
He does,
okay,
yes.
you know, if I had that kind of money, and of course I'd have a ranch out in the middle of nowhere and the perimeter would be mined, so it would be like, bring it on, boys. But yeah, I've always thought I'd have to start something like, okay, well, why don't we have White History Month. And I know what the response would be is because, oh, well, every day is White History Day. Yeah, well, fuck you. If everybody else wants to have their, special little, we have Black History Month, and what is it, Latino or Hispanic or whatever. Because my take on the whole thing is every day or every month or whatever ought to just be Everybody History Month. So when you start throwing shit at me that I need to celebrate a particular thing, like you're talking about, this is, what did you say, like Female History Month or something or other?
Yes.
Well, it's kind of like, excuse me, that kind of offends me, quite honestly, because I don't know. And I'm not even really truly quote unquote white. I just identify as white because I was adopted by, the whitest of white families. So,
I know what you mean.
Hey, I've been trying to reach you. You okay?
I don't know. I just find all that pretty stupid
Freak out, but
Same.
you in on some stuff.
and does nothing but create division instead of, actually elevate and honor particular things.
Incredible work, Miles. Stick
Yeah.
close to the beast. If the convicts get desperate, they may try to raid the shelter.
Wait, Eddie. Anything else happens here? I'll let you know.
Great.
I can tell you what, they'd hate me a lot worse than they hate Rowling.
Yuri.
Yeah, Rowling isn't that based, honestly. She's actually pretty milquetoast in a lot of ways.
Look, the only reason she's hated is because she disagrees on one thing.
Agreed. That's what I say. She's extremely milquetoast.
It's not just that. She disagrees on one thing, and she's famous. Those two things are kind of important.
She's also
Well, yeah, she
exceptionally good.
disagrees on one thing that is actually, for once, a scientific fucking fact.
Which they don't like. They don't like science.
No, they don't.
They also want to push a narrative without thinking through certain consequences because they want to be accepting.
I don't know, my personal opinion for 99% of the time, because there are exceptions, are if you want to identify as a woman, grow a womb and a fucking pair of ovaries and bleed for 10 fucking days every fucking month for the majority of your life. Then you can come tell me that you're a woman. Otherwise, fuck off and go away. Sorry. Okay, continue.
No worries.
You were saying, dear?
Well, it's just like she disagrees about the idea of being that says that you can't just be accepting. You have to actually vet and keep in mind that there are predators.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is such a thing as being overly accepting. Pretty much everything can be taken to a bad extreme.
What about our stimulating battleside chat?
Moderation is the way of life.
Yep.
Do I seem like a moderate type of person to you?
Compared to some other people, yes.
Well, okay, true, but I don't know. I'm just like, and I think you guys know me well enough to know that I really don't. You know what I mean? You can call yourself whatever you want. You can dress however you want. You can look however you want. You can act pretty much however you want. All of that, as long as you're not intentionally being cruel and hurting other people. That's my baseline right there. But again, don't just stop with the bullshit. I was watching something. Oh, actually, Whose stream was that? I was watching. I don't know. I was watching a stream I was unfamiliar with that Mags was on, and one of the guests they had on there was a streamer, and I think she has a YouTube channel, but she really doesn't do much with her YouTube channel. But she was a Twitch streamer. And she made a comment a while back about how much she was looking forward to Hogwarts Legacy coming out, right? And then there was I always have to think about this to get it correct. There was a trans woman who goes by the name of, you're going to hate this, Shy, Purple something or other. Who got exceedingly offended by this, that she would even make a comment, okay, that she was looking forward to Hogwarts Legacy and was going to play it. So dug through her Twitter feed and found a tweet from 2016 or 17 where she had said something about this was when one of the big controversies was about whatever they call them, where you have bathrooms that are basically where they had to allow trans people to use the bathroom, that they like. So trans women would use women's bathrooms, right?
Yeah.
And so she had made some comment about, it was a little snarky, but it was kind of saying, hey, there are predators as well, right? Kind of thing. And so she took that tweet and she went to town, and basically she got the woman fired from her job.
What?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's a common occurrence. That's a stupidly common occurrence.
Yeah, the biggest one right now because of Hogwarts Legacy. Pigamy is graduating.
Yeah, I think there was a whole asinine boycott that utterly failed.
Well, what it did succeed, is having a popular VTuber basically graduating means retiring the character. For even considering the crime, considering streaming Hogwarts Legacy.
She cultivated the wrong audience. That's the main problem. That's usually what happens. Or that's usually the reason why this happens.
No, well,
is it her fault that she cultivated that kind of audience?
No, she just appealed to. She appealed more to Western audience than the Japanese.
Well, I mean, when you get canceled, that just means that usually there's a comment and somebody just stops watching you. That's usually you've cultivated the wrong audience. It's why Lindsay Ellis was chased off of Twitter, is because she surrounded herself with the wrong people.
Yeah, I know about Lindsay Ellis. I'm just wondering how much. I can imagine a situation where they cultivate that audience not from something they've done, and more just happenstance.
I don't think Pigamy is an example of that.
Okay.
Because here's the thing: the crazy people on Twitter usually hates VTubers.
So it was kind of a bound to happen thing, regardless.
This is depressing.
Well, what should be interesting is 10 years from now, if I'm still around, but 10 years from now, what happens when the world has swung back the other way, or Western civilization or whatever you want to call it? Because things really do swing back and forth. They really do go in a wheel of time, but because trends and all of that, they really do. So it ought to be kind of humorous 10 years from now when the pendulum has gone the other way and people start digging through all of the activists' old YouTube videos and tweets and Reddit posts and yada, yada, yada. So now, as they are all starting to enter their, their 30s and late 30s, now all of a sudden, they're going to be in danger of losing their jobs and yada, yada, yada. Because of shit they've said now and in the last few years.
Yeah.
Definitely stay away from the reception.
It is a bit of a... I do have a slight bit of attitude where it's you reap what you sow when some of those things happen. Because I'm like, I'm sorry. You've been asking for this for a long time. Go screw yourself.
Sadly, that doesn't always happen. Justice does not always take place in our world.
It doesn't, but when it does, that is... I don't particularly feel bad for those people.
I know a few Sable agents.
I think there are some people that suffered pretty badly from cancel culture and they didn't do anything.
Oh yeah, those are not people I'm referring to. Cancel culture has fucked up a lot of people, and I really don't like it.
Yeah, it's completely ridiculous.
It's part of why I like Schlatt a lot, is he's someone who basically managed to say fuck you to cancel culture, and has been pretty much immune to it since they tried to cancel him. Not Shad, Jay Schlatt. The guy who has the laugh for the trip laugh when she wins a game. That guy.
Mr. Sable offers workman's comp.
He got canceled for 2 years. Then came back and screwed every single person who was related to that group.
How so? Tell me the story.
Okay, wait. All of these guys are just completely oblivious to anything that's not directly in front of them?
It's video game logic.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, like so it's the stealth, because this isn't really a stealth game. They don't take into account of a big area effect, because if they make it more complex, like the game mechanics do not support.
Elevator. This is it.
Yeah.
That
Trip. You've seen the meme. It was shoot a guy. It was just a wind. Right? Have you seen those?
It was what? No, I don't think so.
That's a common meme for video games where a lot of, like, if a game has a stealth option, a lot of times you can do all sorts of things to the character, including just outright shooting them, like I think in The Last of Us. And then if you get behind something and hide, they pretty much just pretend you don't exist. They're like, it was just the wind, as the auto dialogue to explain why.
Oh, okay. No, I haven't really seen those, but that makes sense.
Yeah, it's just it's a funny thing that's happened with games, because yeah, some are just not built for that.
Oh, this mask is incredible.
Yeah.
Schematics for a prototype combat mask.
All right, so what was the story before I rudely interrupted?
Jay Schlatt, basically, he started off as mainly a Minecraft YouTuber. Played a lot. I don't remember what precisely got him canceled, but basically a lot of his audience had a lot of young cancel culture people in it who got pissed at him and then drove him off the platform of Twitch for a decent amount of time. And then he decided to come back into streaming, and the first thing he did was ban every single account that has the stereotypical naming convention of cancel culture, because I guess they all use a same kind of name, like Dream Not Found or something like that, or like this name not found, or this name was taken, that kind of stuff. He makes a bot to delete all of them. I've showed you the video of him doing that. He deletes thousands of people, bans them, just to say screw you to those people and not have them in his audience. And since then has been unable to be canceled because nothing they do works.
I need to find the code for that key.
It is a meme that he is just uncancelable since that point. He says, I don't know the exact reasonings on how that managed to work out, but he there's some video. I've just seen some videos recommended. I've never watched them, but he says all sorts of shit and does not get in trouble. Because I think he's at this point cultivated an audience who does not care.
Well, you know, a bit of a segue from that, what I don't get
Scientific journals
is the stupid YouTube reused content rule.
Pete's powers.
What do you mean?
Weirder still that Norman.
What
Well-
how Prophet got demonetized?
Well, and actually, because Prophet was talking about, I think he's still waiting on more details on that. But from some of the things that they were talking about in chat and things like that, is the one that got him demonetized was a Zelda stream, and somebody else was talking about that there's one particular piece of music in one of the castles that like 6 different people will file a claim on, and none of them are Nintendo, but that may be what, you know, got it, what caused it. But what's weird is that it wasn't like a per se claim that just gets you, you know, whatever, right, until you appeal it and blah blah blah. Like it got him demonetized, like bam. But and I guess the reason they stated did say the whole reused content thing, but it's so bizarre that a lot of people in our kind of our community, you know, the people that I watch their streams and stuff, have run into that in the last few months. And yet some of the massively huge YouTubers who do reaction videos, so they're reacting to a video, well, kind of like, you know, how you'll do reactions to like Maggie Mae's videos, right?
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of people who do that, and that's reused content. So it's just very, you know, the AI run amok, and, you know, it makes just literally no logical sense per se.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. I just recently ran across. I was watching a YouTuber who was reviewing funny music videos, and one of them is Bo Burnham's "Welcome to the Internet" song, which is available on YouTube for free, and he has to edit the video out because Netflix fucking claims it. And I'm like, why? It's on YouTube for free on public domain. Why? What do you think you are doing by making him unable to do this?
Stay ready. I've almost got
Well, because they're using algorithms that they don't understand.
Yeah. YouTube's
You
copyright
know.
system has always been very, very bullshit.
Pete, Norman
This is true, but it's also very freaky to me. I mean, I know that successful YouTubers and Twitch streamers and so on and so forth can make a lot of money,
almost got the location.
but I never really realized like exactly how much money. Like, it's just like, what the hell? And the reason why I say that is because I can't remember. Oh, there's a streamer YouTuber, I guess, called Tectone. And the only thing I know him from is because he does this little like YouTube podcast thing with Asmongold and one of his other friends. it's just that they sit around and talk about shit, right? But I guess he used to live in Canada and was really successful and has had a YouTube channel for a long time and has streamed and stuff and whatever. But he was talking about
Gotta find the location.
that
Breath lab.
when he moved, I don't know exactly what happened, but when he moved to the US, he wasn't like familiar with
It's tracking
our tax system, right?
find the devil.
So, yeah, he got hit really hard for like 2 or 3 years of taxes that he didn't pay, to the tune of like 1 year was 400 grand, 1 year was 200 grand,
Oscorp's got
so on and so forth. And I'm like, holy crap, how much must this dude be making off of streaming on whatever various platforms he does to be in arrears that amount of taxes?
Some of them be filthy
Like-
rich.
Like, yeah, like a lot of money. I was like, holy crap.
perfect place to hide.
There's a reason so many try to go for it.
GR27 Martin Lee incident. What is this?
And we are rolling.
Yeah, but it's also very fickle.
It is. That is kind of the consequence of it. Either you go for something more stable and consistent, which won't probably pay as much, or you can try for like a gamble or a lottery and get a lot, but you're never gonna have really a safety net.
And I think, have we bored Ninja?
No, he's here. He was trying to speak up for a second.
I do like this as an origin story.
Oh yeah.
And adds some pretty layered complexity to an otherwise very mid-tier villain at best.
So Mr. Negative was a character introduced in a Dan Slott run, who also helped write this.
Started all this. They created Lee.
Oh, interesting.
So he was, I think he was the lead writer for this game,
Okay.
but not the DLC.
So, is the DLC any good, or
No,
really?
it's awful.
Really? How come?
Multiple, lots of stupid and boring.
Really? Well, I got it for free, so I might as well get it.
We have a breach. High alert.
That's my. I did not finish the DLC, even though I was on the third, like the last. I think I did the last fight actually, but it took a while because I was so bored of it.
Application. And a lot more.
So, like the DLC, the first one focused on Black Cat, and then the second one focused on Yuri,
I've got the lab location.
and which is spoiler, her villain origin story.
2 avenues over. Say the word and I'm there.
And then the third is Silver Sable, and the connecting thread for the last 2 DLC. No, the connection throughout the entire DLC is Hammerhead,
Okay.
and it's like a gang story, and they managed to screw it up.
Really?
You aren't being very stealthy here.
Hmm.
Okay.
What happened to her sneaking up behind people? And Neil was in chat for a minute, but I was distracted and not paying attention.
He might still be there.
Hey, Neil.
And we were very engaging, so not your fault.
Yeah. I think the only thing on my chest right now is about the Lord of the Rings stuff.
Oh no!
Yeah.
Don't bring it up! Don't bring it
Why
up!
not?
Why
did it-
not? I don't have a
Alright, alright.
spaz, that much of a spaz about that. It's just, I don't
Alright.
know. I'm just kind of like,
I'm more cautiously optimistic. Like it's more of like I want more information.
well, yeah,
Yeah, of
exactly. Like, who's truly going to be involved in?
What are the true projects, and actually weigh the actual projects.
And what are the movies going to be about? Who's the creative leads on them? Are they going to be nobodies like we had with Rings of Power?
It seems like they at least are getting, at least with like War of the Rohirrim, which is I'm assuming it's going to be their launching point at this point. They have a lot of the creative stuff that did the old Peter Jackson, even though it's technically an anime. They have like an anime director doing it. So are they going to do animations? If so, that'll just be easy to bring back
Harry's sick.
the older cast.
Norman and Lee and Dr.
Are they doing
Octavius.
live action?
It could be cool if they did it like they did Arcane.
Megan,
Ooh,
you are not alone.
Well, here,
What do
but
you-
the
what do
thing
you mean
is
by
that
that?
right now,
Let Miles and me.
animated films in the West are viewed as like kid stuff.
You find the cure.
Other than stuff
Yeah.
like Castlevania,
Partner.
I think it's Dragon's Dogma.
But essentially, no, Dragon Age. You're thinking of Dragon Age, and essentially, in order for an animation to be viewed as adult, it's going to be a TV series and posted on a streaming platform.
Yeah, pretty much.
question.
Ew.
What?
She don't like spiders.
Yeah, but question. What do you precisely mean by like Arcane Trip?
There must be
Well, if
The
it's
animation
done, yeah, in that style, because that's kind of to me a bit more kind of between animation and
I have to get that anti
live action in a way. It just, yeah, the way they did that was really, really good. And granted, it had, really good story and writing and everything too, and probably as expensive, if not more expensive than just doing like a, regular live action type of movie.
Really good animation, I've been told, tends to be more costly, which is why it's not as often done anymore compared to live action stuff.
Yeah.
But you never know, they are really making leaps and bounds now.
Yeah,
True.
I'm expecting like AI art to be a great tool for animations, because the artists just have to copy, can just pull from their previous art to do like all those in between poses.
Yeah, that's gonna be something that's gonna shake up a lot of people. And also, just not even in just art, but like the recent surge in AI generated voices, which are really fucking good. Like, you just have to look 2 years ago, and like in Kenobi, Vader had a AI voice generator, which was just pure awful because it was really monotone. Now this comes in and manages to make voices from real and fictional characters from games in just really good ways that you just wouldn't expect. AI generation's really been taking off recently.
Yeah, much like people feeding into the people who thinks that everything will be replaced by robots.
Which,
Thus we need.
yeah.
for me, like the AI stuff, all it's gonna do is that okay, you could just increase your output better.
Well, I think at least
Well,
for
with
me,
the ones we-
the thing is with automation, you know, in let's say like service sectors and things like that, there are some definite pros to it. You know, I mean, both for, I guess, especially for like the business owners and the corporations, you know, as far as cost and, you know, not having the human factor of people not showing up for work and making mistakes and so on and so forth. But I'm still kind of in the minority here in the logical sense of, okay, that's all well and good, but they really need to start looking at the human piece of it and going, okay, well, what are we going to do when it does get to the point where so many jobs are not available any longer? How are people going to live? You know, how is that going to be handled?
I think no matter how good the technology becomes, it's never really gonna replace human factor on everything, because for example, art, sometimes the roughness, like the roughness of like the drawings and stuff adds character that when you make something more cleaner, you kind of lose that aspects. Like if you compare like animation styles from like earlier decades to the more modern times. Yes, the modern times have like cleaner looking drawings in terms of frames, and some of them have like very good animations compared to back then. But the back then also has like better looking designs because they're not purposely drawn in a way to incorporate the modern techniques, which
you
revolves
assume.
Should be on the same page.
Keep going.
no, you can continue.
My counter would be you assume the AI cannot replicate the roughness as well. There's a lot of people who try and replicate imperfections in their work to make it look more authentic or realistic already. Supposedly, an AI could eventually be made to replicate that. An AI would follow an algorithm to make sure whatever it does most appeals. And if roughness appeals, then that's what it will eventually start to do or be made to do.
I cast very much doubt on that.
I don't know, mate. I've seen some videos about this. AI, even some years ago, were able to make convincing pieces of music and poems that you couldn't tell would be made by an AI. And this is years later from that.
Well, and I think my take on it is a little different in that I do actually agree with both of them. But my question would be, okay, we're talking about art, but if you're looking at realistic day-to-day life, how many people make their living from art?
Not many, though I might say there could be an increase if more people can't work in some hypothetically in some way. I know.
Okay, so
but
like,
then who's
here's
buying
the
the
thing.
art?
Okay,
Yeah.
here's the thing. Also, like cleaning, for example, we do not have the technology to replicate the effectiveness of a cleaning, even with like automated vacuums and stuff, to
Not
do the precise
yet.
cleaning. Well, again, that everyone's assuming, oh, we haven't invented like the button yet, essentially, and I don't think that's ever going to happen.
We've automated vacuuming.
I
No,
think what
well, you automated vacuuming, but is it
as effective?
good up
No.
to standard? Yeah, you can do it,
Not
and
yet,
you can
no.
meet a certain standard, but that's all about you would have to change the standard.
Well, so my point is, okay, so we've been just talking about AI and art, right?
Yeah.
You know, and animation and stuff like this. Well, I'm assuming you guys are familiar with, damn it, I can't remember what the technical term is for it. So jump in if you know what that term is. But how things, once you start to make improvements in something, especially something technological, then those improvements continue on an exponential level. So when we first entered like manufacturing, you know, when the cotton mill was invented, and or the what the hell was it? Am I even using the right term? The cotton gin, whatever.
Yeah.
Right. So at the beginning of that age, you know, it was like whatever, so many years before you'd really see the technology improve. Or even like with computers, it took how long from, you know, really like the first computer that took up, you know, literally rooms, right? Or look at like the Commodore that, you know, like what, you got 64K of memory or something. And then it was however long before that doubled. But those segments of time in between truly big improvements exponentially grow smaller and smaller and smaller. So that now, like, just take graphics cards, right? Like, you go out and you buy the latest, most expensive brand new graphics card, and literally months later, if even that long, there's a new one, a new version that is twice as good, or 3 times as good, or 4 times as good. Because those leaps in technology are becoming, you know, smaller and smaller and smaller in time frame. And there is a technical term for that, and for the life of me, I can't remember what it's called. But I think that's what you truly are going to see with robotics. And I think we're probably already seeing it. So to look at it and go, okay, well, 10 years from now, yeah, you could go to Wendy's and it's completely automated. Period. You know, or you could have a robot in your home. And I'm not talking about sentience, okay? But just a robot in your home that was perfectly capable of doing the dishes efficiently, of vacuuming the floor, of painting, of, you know, whatever. All of those kind of, I guess, labor intensive jobs that people do.
Yeah.
I mean, look at, you know, there are, God, this was a few years ago that I saw this, but they have machines that can lay brick efficiently. Granted, yeah, you still need to have the person who can program it, and you've got to have a person there in case it breaks down, or just to, you know, double check its work or whatever. But
There's
it
less
just keeps, yeah, it just keeps getting more and more, which on one hand, okay, that's good, because then people don't have to focus so much on all that labor intensive type of work. You know, like what, a few centuries ago, you know, there were so many people that, you know, basically they had to work from sun up to sundown just to provide food and so on and so forth. Well, we don't really have that anymore. I mean, there are still farmers and everything, but they've still got a lot of technological equipment that makes their job now a lot easier than it used to be a few centuries ago. But what are all these people going to do? I think on a spiritual level, it could be pretty good because then people can focus more on like what they're passionate about and what they enjoy
disagree.
doing. You disagree in what? That we'll see that come to pass?
In terms that it will be healthy on the spiritual level. No, it won't.
Oh,
Well,
how
but
so?
Because simple, you gave them a whole bunch. You now just gave people a whole bunch of free time.
Yes, and a
And-
lot of people will sometimes use that free time in productive or interesting ways.
But
Not
I don't
always.
think it's a lot fewer. Those people are a lot fewer than you. There's a lot of people who claim they would be more productive on their free time. But then when you gave them all the free time in the world, they're gonna quickly become bored.
Yes, and that boredom can lead them to trying out new and other things.
No, it's not gonna do it. It's not. New and other things are not what you're gonna be expecting. When I hear new and other interesting thing, I know what happens with decadent culture, and yes, we are in a decadent culture. They're most likely gonna do
unhealthy activities, and I don't disagree with you, okay, but what the thing is you have to look at it for anything like that to be holistic and healthy. You do have to look at it in a holistic manner of, okay, well, if we're going to have this, then we need to restructure how we're educating people. Yeah. And what society considers relevant, successful, and valuable. Which right now, our Western culture basically considers one thing relevant, successful, and valuable, and that's money. Okay. And so there would have to be a shift for a society like that to be healthy.
People say that all the time, but in reality, when you see people's actual life, you actually like. There's a thing where it's like, yes, our culture values money. No, it values multiple things. It's just that money is one of the biggest ones because it's the most obvious one.
So, okay, I'm talking about what our society considers the most powerful. Okay, so if you look at it differently, I applaud you for that because you've learned a valuable set of lessons. But because to me, you can ask Kai. I know he's got to roll his eyes at me sometimes, but money's never been a thing for me, ever.
Yeah.
But I could tell you that everybody that I've ever been around, what is it that they want? Money. What is it that they bitch about not having? Money. What is it that they consider you to be successful for? Making a lot of money or having a lot of money. Do they care if you're fulfilled in your job? Fuck no. If you don't have a lot of money to go along with being fulfilled in that job, you're a failure. Now, that may be because that's what I was raised around and experienced, but to me, when you still look at our culture, like we talk, we talk a lot about, okay, well, why are they making such crappy content anymore? Movies and shows and different things like that. Why? Because money. Period. Bottom line, it's all about money. Why are people getting canceled? It's all about money because companies and corporations and organizations are terrified that somebody is going to take their money away from them, that their stock is going to fail or the value decrease because their marketing isn't going to be successful because they're being presented as somebody with the incorrect political take on something. And they don't care one bit about whether their persona, right, that the public sees them with, they don't care one bit really what people think of them unless it costs them money. They don't care about being good or right or justice or any of this. And I'm talking generally. I know there are ones out there that are different, but generally overall, the reason why we see all this bullshit is because all they care about is money. Why was insulin thousands of dollars in the US as opposed to across the border in Canada at $30? Fucking money in, like you said, this toxic, capitalistic, decadent society that we live in. Sorry. I'm done with my little rant now. Your turn for rebuttal.
Well, I don't think it. I think looking at just stuff through money is like one aspect of the problems with our culture. But the thing is, a lot of stuff that people are always complaining about, like no matter what time period in history, they're always going to be complaining about money, kind of complaining about sex, going to complain about not having a voice in the current system. Like it's like those are the three things, because without any values, without a faith that forms your character, you will only care about those three things. You're going to care about having money because so that you can live on your own and live in luxury. You're going to care about sex because of our innate biological need to procreate and the need for intimacy that is in every human. It's some more than others. And then you're going to care about power because of, again, the selfishness of it's all about making your life comfortable. But that's present throughout all of human history. Like there's reasons why people would argue for having more government control is because that's been the default in humanity. Because for most people, even though they claim that they want to have freedom for individuals, at some level they rather have the blame of every error that happened in society to be put on somebody else, and if somebody wants to have all the power and control, they can have a scapegoat and thus have a power of their destiny.
So I have two questions for you. And truly, I'm very curious about this. So obviously, I'm a completely different, generation, right? And grew up, a lot different in a much different world than you guys. So, kind of speaking for your generation, I guess the two questions would be, number one, do you think humanity can change and be better spiritually, holistically, however you want to term that? And two, what's important to you? What do you consider success?
Oh my god.
I
You want to go first,
consider
Oli?
I would consider success more about personal character. And like living, every human should live should have the chance to be able to see the full potential they have in their life as they please. It's kind of, I'm actually learning like a teacher's class, and I'm kind of developing a bit of a teaching philosophy as part of the class, which is at the end goal, like the test is making curriculum. But I'm kind of a bit of like a classical thought back in the old ancient times of ancient Greece and stuff, like highlighting the individual rather than a society. I would also
Where are you going?
I need to find Otto. He has the anti-serum.
Ollie?
my brain is just malfunctioning. It's late at night.
Maybe Spider-Man
Uh,
will help his friend Peter.
And then, so I care about personal character
Your help
a lot
doesn't
more.
exist, remember?
Live out to the full
And
life,
that's
and
important.
And like what your passion is.
yeah,
Follow that. Well, so do you think humanity can change and ever reach that?
I do, but
Sorry.
the cost of it is to go against the innate selfish nature. Like, as a Christian, I believe, like, living for God. But I know, but the thing is, most of humanity will refuse that because that requires true humility.
Mm-hmm.
I am going to behave and not go down the religion rabbit hole, dear.
I don't mind. Go for it.
No, just because that'll lead us off on a tangent. So
Yeah, well, maybe after we finish this tangent, but I'll say, one, yeah, similar to Ninja, personal success for me is basically just
No interface.
whatever you think makes your life fulfilling, which is different for different
Something in the
people.
lab I can use.
If you can manage to make your life happy, you have succeeded. Granted, for me, that means something very different than for someone else. For me, a successful life will be having some influence and having people remember me after I die. I don't like the concept of me being forgotten once I perish.
So
I
a
wanna-
legacy.
Yeah, I kind of
I
want
would-
legacy
I would-
because I believe the thing of you can die twice. One's the first death, and then the second death being the last time someone thinks or remembers you. I find
I would
that
say
to
the
be
legacy
true.
part is probably going to be very common for my
Yeah.
generation.
Yeah, it's because I don't want to be just forgotten. I'd like to leave a mark for however long. Yeah, I
Well,
can.
think of this: all your comments on Discord will probably be somewhere forever.
This is true.
Well, as
But it
long as
would be with
Discord is
many.
around.
Yeah. I wish to expand my corruption. You know, my aspiring dark one will eventually lose the aspiring. But yeah, and I do think people can eventually grow out of the current concept of what success is, because I think we're already starting to see that a bit.
I do think this is my favorite suit out of all of them, but that's because I'm a sucker for black and gold.
It does look very cool.
Yeah, it looks cool.
But
I would
And
actually
it
agree.
fits well with the
Yeah.
story that's being told.
yeah, fits with the tech, very nice. But right, I was saying, yeah, I believe, because I think we're starting to see that change, because I think our generation still has to deal with the concept of money being important. My parents definitely think that way too. They're fucking Indian. Money is one of the things they care about the most.
And hey, Codex.
Ayo,
Oh, yeah,
Kodak.
and I think that's gonna still kind of follow with the generation because of how much that importance has been attempted to be ingrained into everyone. But already, like, look at us, the little community we've made. We clearly have different ideas of what personal success is, and I think that's becoming more popular as time is going on.
So far we have 2 optimists and 1 cynical bitch.
You're on the cynical route?
Yeah, the cynical bitch would be me, as we well know, who still somehow seems to take a positive view along the line. So even though I think I know how Kai would answer these questions, he gets to answer the questions for the rest of the audience.
I would say what I would value is the ability to have the simple things that I would like to have without bankrupting myself. And
So I think of all of us here, money is probably more important to you than the rest of us.
in some ways, yes, mostly because I want to leave behind something, at least be able to have a very solid foundation to take care of a family with.
Well, I feel like
And-
your personal success is being able to take care of a family, Don, not necessarily money. That's more means to an end.
Well, if I don't have money, I won't necessarily have the means to take care of them. Or at the very
Yeah.
least that there will be problems that will arise.
If you could take care of a family without them needing to care about money, that's what you would have accomplished your goal. So yeah, I'm saying it's a means to an end, but not necessarily what's important to you. It's just to help with what's important to you.
Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, that's kind of a long way off.
Yeah, it is. Like you have to. There's always the practicality you have to take into account with these kinds of things. Yes, you need money. Yes, you need to be able to afford whatever kind of lifestyle you want to have. But it's not necessarily what's important to you. The money, at least not the money itself, which for some it is, because that's how they measure success. Yours isn't really like the more money I get, the more successful I am. It's more I need the money I will need to take care of a family. I don't necessarily need more.
I think part of the reason why our mindsets are kind of more on this path is that we see the consequences of it, of thinking about valuing money and materialism as the number one goal in the culture for the past 2 generations.
Yeah.
And how it's it kind of wrecks.
Well, do you think you'll be able to hang on to that? And hello, Occupation Army. Should I know who Occupation Army is?
I don't know if you've met.
He's been in chat before. But,
yeah, I know he's been in chat. So.
Fuck.
Okay, well, hi. Sorry if I don't remember you. I probably haven't given you enough shit to remember you. But yeah, do you think you'll be able to hang on to that as you get older? And by you, I kind of mean you guys individually, but also your generations.
What exactly? I'm trying to recall.
It's gonna have its own problems. So okay, so it's gonna have its own problems, and here's the funny thing, Trip. I have been becoming more positive, more optimistic the older I get. When I was like back in 20, like or my teenage years and early 20s, I would consider myself to be more cynical than I am now.
How old are you now?
About to be 27 in about 2 weeks.
Okay.
Well, happy birthday.
Yeah.
In 2 weeks.
Birthday, it's in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
What date exactly?
March 21st.
Oh
First
God,
day.
that's going in the notes.
Yes. Is that a bad one to note down, Trip?
No, but it's not like I'm not gonna give you shit about it.
True, thank you. Continue, Knight.
You would be
continue.
shy. You would not be the president. You would be the chief of staff.
Yeah, I was very cynical. Like I was struggled with trying to keep an optimistic view in the world, and I think it's helped to have like a sense of humor, and not like the sense of humor that has been like prevalent for decades, where it's a cynical, sarcastic form of sense of humor. Where you can still have sarcasm, but it's all about the jolly of it, a jolly and joy of like the silliness of a situation, rather than the biting type. Because
More of a live in the moment.
What?
More of a live in the moment type of attitude.
Yeah. And it's like, it also helps is like not be understand that the world will never be perfect, but it can always be better, as opposed to like, I think the most common problems when you have very cynical people is that they see the world is flawed and dwell on the fact that it's not perfect. Like, dwell on the flawedness. Well, you have like the optimist who looks at only the good in the world, like the extreme version, looking good in the world, but ignores the flaws. And I would consider myself more in the realist, like more of like understanding that the world is heavily flawed, people are heavily flawed, and they are gonna fail. Sometimes in unexpected ways, sometimes in all too familiar ways. But
okay, so
it will be
go ahead.
better at the end.
Have you always been a Christian?
Yep.
Okay. How much do you think that affects your outlook?
A lot. Understanding the world, the way it works.
I'd agree.
As the one who
Well,
is here and is being asked these questions, don't believe it's necessary to have an optimistic outlook on life. Or something better. You were saying, Trip?
Oh no, I was just kind of curious if part of the more positive outlook on life is because being a Christian, that you believe that even after you die, then, basically heaven, right? Where everything's going to be okay and great and all that.
I view Earth and heaven as temporary residences. I believe that Jesus will come back and bring everyone back from the dead, and then the final judgment, and then eternal life. That's what, like, Christians don't just believe in that when you die you go to heaven and hang out in the sky for all eternity. No, there is and like heaven is also a temporary vacation spot. It's like you get to live a life here, you get to visit the world, enjoy the world, and then you be with God in heaven for how long, and then that you won't know. Not even Jesus knows. God knows. Only God knows. He will come back and not so much reset the world, but renew the world into a new heaven and new earth.
Oh, Occupation Army just said that. The New Heaven and
Yeah.
New Earth.
Yeah. That's the term. That's what that term means, is that it's not so much like a total reset, it's a renewal.
Okay, so now, because I guess a little context here. I guess I'm more what you would call agnostic. Pain in the ass.
Yeah.
But
fence sitter.
okay, so no, not a fence sitter, more a yeah, I've not ever been shown anything or provided with anything that gives me any kind of an answer. And as quote unquote spiritual and emotional as I am, religion is one thing that I take a very logical approach to. And I won't go off on a tangent on that, but
Shame.
so when I grew up in a religious household, but not super religious. It was just there. That belief, was just there.
Yeah.
My parents were Methodist, and there wasn't actually a Methodist church in the town I grew up in. So I actually experienced a lot of different churches because I would go with my friends at different times. So, I mean, just the whole kind of Christian, just everything, like Catholic and Baptist and Holy Rollers. And, so I grew up with all sorts of different views, but not once can I remember anyone saying anything about the new heaven and the new earth. So I'm just like, okay, well, that's like a completely new concept to me. Yes, granted, Kai and I have had a lot of very interesting discussions about religion, and I don't know that the Mormons have anything per se that they call the new heaven and the new earth. I guess some of the beliefs
millennium.
there could kind of
Yeah,
be similar.
The millennium. So
Yeah, the millennium is both something we also believe in. The difference is that we believe that the spirit world is a waiting period that everybody will be able to learn about Christ, including those who never had the opportunity.
Oh, it's just you've never termed it that way to me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the term is, I think, it's sort of universalism.
Yeah, it's just called Spirit Paradise and Spirit Prison, and really, our understanding is that there are the three degrees of glory are heaven. That's kind of the end of all things.
Not tired.
Things to a certain extent, kind of and basically where like the journey kind of goes. It's where you do have the idea of eternal progression, where eventually we can become perfected, even as God and Jesus Christ are perfected. But it takes kind of our understanding is that the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is the restored Church of Jesus Christ as it existed in his time, with prophets and apostles and priesthood authority, and pretty much all the knowledge about God that was lost over the intervening centuries.
Well, I guess kind of why I was asking about that in conjunction with what we were talking about earlier is it's kind of, and this kind of just occurred to me, but I know that outside of like my online communities that I hang around and my work community, because that's very faith-based, but there seems to be somewhat of kind of more people getting away from a religious belief system. Even, like say atheism seems to be growing by leaps and bounds. But
Yeah.
I find it kind of very intriguing that my online communities, my online friends, right, tend to be like 90% religious of some faith, right? A lot Christian and I know, well, yeah, Mormon is Christian, quote
Yep.
unquote, right?
Mhm.
But now I'm sitting here thinking about it and I'm thinking, well, I wonder if that has something to do with the type of community tends to lend itself a bit more to conservatism, which lends itself a little bit more towards religiosity.
Mhm.
I don't know. Those are just weird things I'm thinking right now.
I do agree, Codex, you do not necessarily need religion to be a good person. And most of the principles of religion are tied into being a good person. Generosity to the poor, self-restraint, avoiding pride, that sort of thing.
Avoiding smugness, really?
I've I would right now to say the whole statement. I don't need religion to be a good person. It's like you can when we're talking about theology, especially when it comes to usually that statement is tied to heaven and hell type discussions, and that is like, okay, we're having two different things, aspects that are we discussing that I am too tired to talk about to delve into a bit more.
Well, and we can talk about whatever you guys want. I just have a tendency when I'm in these moods to get very, very just asking whatever question pops into my head. Because I don't know, I just find the different ways that people think and the different things that they think and their different experiences and all of that just very interesting without judgment, honestly.
They are
interesting.
interesting discussions, yeah.
Yeah.
I think that in order, like my understanding is that to a certain extent, like from my perspective as somebody who's LDS, is that in order for you to be perfected, you have to follow Christ. But you can still be good. There's still an element of you can still reach good, but you can ultimately become better through Christ. That's my understanding of it.
And that's
Which, if you really want to think about it, isn't that a magical system all of its own with its little rules and regulations and special things you have to follow?
Well, something I'd like to say is the concept of perfect is part of why I don't follow a faith. What makes God perfect? That's not something I think a lot of people can agree on necessarily, because even people in the same religion aren't necessarily going to agree on what makes God perfect.
Well,
perfect is a very individualized thing, and so perfect does not technically exist except for you. And so you cannot give me a perfect God.
Well, here's the thing. That's more if you're. I can't remember what's the theory. It's where it's a theory that lends itself more to truth is relative. I am more of like the classical, and in the classics, like Aristotle, Plato, and all those classical philosophers that influenced a lot of early Christian faith is that there is a truth out there, and it is universal, like across the board. But the thing is, the whole Plato's the cave thing is like we're in there doing shadows, and my tweak on it is that every philosophy has some aspects of the truth in different ways. true Christian faith. True Christian faith, and usually, okay, with the whole true Christian faith thing also ties to the idea about what is the church. Church as in the big capital C, because then there's church with the small capital C's. Essentially, I'm a Presbyterian, and John Calvin, who is like one of the big philosophical theological minds about it, has this concept called the invisible church, where essentially anybody who goes to a church may not be actually part of the invisible church, which are like where all the true belief, the people who will be with God and with not, and that's a little bit complicated because John Calvin is predestination is tied to that, and it's very complicated and very misunderstood. Exactly what Presbyterians believe, because it's tied to the whole free will and predestinations thing.
Yeah.
And essentially, the short answer is like, is there free will? Is there predestination? And the short answer for Presbyterians or a subset called Calvinists is yes. Is that yes, both exists. But then, as soon as you say, okay, what exactly? That's when all the muddy stuff goes into, because the best way to describe what we believe is what is it not.
I think
So?
Hi.
I think that there's an element of foreordination, which is different than predestination. Like everybody has a mission that they're meant to accomplish, and often they're called by God to accomplish that. Moses, Joseph, Elijah, etc. And for me, Joseph Smith was one of those men who is foreordained to be a prophet. But he still had his agency.
Usually when predestination is brought up, it's not so much about what happens in the history. It's more in relationship about the top view, what God sees, who gets to heaven, who is saved, who is the elect, who will choose God willingly through the Holy Spirit, and who will not. It's because so John Calvin and my denomination tends to be about God, focused more on God's sovereignty.
Yes, I mean, no, I don't. I'm not
usually the default when it comes to a theological question is, okay, what gives God the most glory?
I never stopped wanting to.
God, which is also Jesus, Trinity, another confusing. Religion is complicated.
It is definitely very complicated. I'm kind of on the opposite end of the spectrum, where I don't necessarily believe in the Trinity. My understanding is that God, Jesus Christ, and the Holy Ghost are three different distinct individuals, with God and Jesus Christ both having perfected bodies of flesh and bone.
I kind of got to talk to you about something I can't tell my mom about.
That's my understanding, though. And everybody is totally free to have their own conclusions if they so choose.
Like physically.
Well, you're.
I guess why does the
and you may be noticing some. For example.
What?
I love this bit. I love it. He thinks it's puberty, and it turns out
better that I just I show you.
No.
Don't take off your pants. Oh.
It's pretty weird, right? Not that weird.
Okay, so what? He got bit too?
No, early on, well, yes, technically, actually.
I mean, I was watching, but I was also distracted.
I
a
think
bit,
it was early
so-
on in the
Mhm.
game. Wait, before.
Well, actually, we saw it in this where he goes into Osborne. She goes into Osborne's lab and sees a bunch of spiders, and one of them gets onto her lapel and leaves. Is with him, and bites Miles.
Oh, the one I was oohing about?
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
that was a Chekhov spider, and this is some freaky stuff.
We were so close. But I'll keep trying. I will find a cure. I will. I love you, son.
I am very interested to play the sequel to this.
Yeah,
Well, what happened to his son?
Harry?
that's the Venom suit.
Oh.
He got a symbiote,
Hmm.
and I think it kind of bonded with him.
But didn't
Too
work
much.
very well.
Yeah. I'm not sure whether they're going to go alien or experimentation.
Okay. Well, all right. So, question, suggestion, whatever you want to consider it. Well, Shy asked me a question and I'll answer that. But I don't know if you could do this, but you know that video that I posted about the weapons expert on the Elden Ring stuff? Might be kind of fun to watch that. And you could chop it later when you upload? Or would that get you...
No.
Would that get the stream?
Nah, that would be
That
fine.
would get the stream, maybe.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I got to head to bed.
All right. See you later.
See ya.
See ya.
Thanks for the conversation, Ninja.
No problem.
Have a good night.
Have fun with a crappy story.
See ya.
Huh. Shy, what is my view of the future?
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't know. You know
Why do
me.
you-
Depends on my mood as to whether I'm feeling optimistic and I think humanity can improve, yada yada yada, but mostly I don't really think humanity will change much and just continue on with the crap that they do now with both good and bad, and we'll just continue to recycle history and so on and so forth until either humanity implodes and has to start over, or there's some kind of crazy natural disaster, or we get hit by an asteroid, or who knows, maybe space travel. You know, we managed to go out a bit into the solar system, but I'm not quite sure if that's a good thing right now. Be nice if humanity actually grew into some form of maturity before that happened, but so I really don't know.
You might get your wish on that, because there is the possibility we won't be able to do any space travel for a few centuries. Because there's a lot of shit outside our orbit that we might end up just destroying everything that we send out there.
Oh, I don't know. I'm kind of thinking they'll probably figure out some way to create harvesters to go out and clean up the orbit at some point when it becomes absolutely necessary. Probably be the freaking Chinese that do that, but...
Yeah, but it will delay things for at least a long time if we let it get to that point and then start cleaning. There are solutions, though.
Yeah, I don't know. And I'm doing all right, Codex. Just tired, drained, delirious. You know, kind of par for the
someone
course for the
delirious.
next month or so.
For someone so delirious, you were engaging in quite the conversation.
Mhm.
Oh, I can still be delirious and do that. I guess I'm just in a philosophical delirium.
Mm. And yeah, I don't particularly see the future as being this super bright thing. More just like, we'll change and adapt with as things go on. Because that's
Well,
what
if your freaking generation would get their shit together.
Yeah.
I mean, mine and the one or two below me hasn't done such a great job. So, you know, I hate to say it, but your turn to step up to the pump.
Yeah, I wouldn't have much confidence in our batting average.
Oh, you never know. It's the silent majority that aren't on Twitter and social media and blah, blah, blah. They're the ones that are, you know, typically out there changing the world.
I.e., the
True.
ones that are not mad.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Like I was telling Codex, I'm either a cynical optimist or an optimistic cynic.
I would say optimistic cynic.
Yeah.
Since I believe that certain things can change, but you can only in terms of broad scope type stuff, it's very, very difficult to like comprehend or even do much.
Fisk.
Well, yeah, I'm right there with you, and I'm sorry I was laughing because Codex said I would say insane. Thanks, Codex. Love you too.
Yeah, we're all nuts here.
Yep.
All right, I want something other than Spider-Man to end the evening with.
1 second.
You guys want to watch some Arlenauts? I don't know if we can do that on stream, but you know, it's been a while.
SWAT is 1084 at this tower. All units stand by. Warrant is en route.
Costume instantly transforms.
I know. It's great. Because this is the full DLC. Or what my full things. I have all the suits.
Oh, the jock. See, that was what I was saying, Trip.
Yep, I have it.
And nice recovery, Codex. I don't mind being called insane.
We're all insane, don't worry.
Well, I was
Yeah.
pretty crazy to begin with, and then I met the two of you and your server. So, yeah, hello.
Yeah, we know. We know.
I don't know. There's probably not too much then that we can actually quote unquote watch while we're live, but
Oh, you would be amazed. Let me see. So you don't want to do
Danger
Spider-Man.
Dear God, what are you getting up?
yeah, dear, what are you getting up?
Multiple things, unfortunately. But it's a very
You
good
have
thing
more
I'm
than
not-
one?
I am not quite the baby from Son of the Mask, if that's what you're asking, where there are 3 penises spray, or at least there are 3 sprays of urine that are probably from 3 different penises.
You just really know how to destroy the mood, don't you?
Yep. We need to watch Son of the Mask sometime. I know. Yeah. So.
And thank you, Codex. You guys are as well.
Let me see. Well, we can definitely still do this.
Twinned knight swords. So this is
Well, it looks like you're getting your wish tonight.
let's start.
Oh, it's part one
Issues
that I
with
haven't seen
YouTube
yet.
Swords end to end. Hi there, I'm Matt Easton of the HEMA Club and YouTube channel Scholar Gladiatoria, and we teach people how to use weapons according to historical martial arts systems. Everything from daggers
swear I've
and
seen
knives
him on a
to
Shad
swords
video.
up to spears and poleaxes. I also consult for museums and the TV and movie industries. And today I'm going to be reacting to some of the weapons from Elden Ring.
Standard longsword, probably nothing to say about it, really.
Okay, so it's a longsword. Longsword's pretty much one of the most typical weapons that we teach in HEMA, Historical European Martial Arts. There's absolutely tons of historical treatises showing us different styles from Germany and Italy and elsewhere of how to use these weapons. And this looks like a really typical late 14th century, if it was a historical one, longsword, which you can use with one hand or two. So if you're riding on a horse, you'd use it with one hand usually. If you're fighting on foot and not using a shield, then you'd usually use it with two hands. It's sometimes known as a hand and a half sword also. And this looks pretty much like a typical real world 14th century longsword. I love the detail there that you can see that the spear has got significantly greater reach than the sword. And in fact, while swords get all the glamour and glory in movies and video games, in fact, in reality, the spear was the most successful hand-to-hand combat weapon throughout history, from the ancient period all the way through really until firearms were invented. And then of course the bayonet was invented, which turns your gun into a spear effectively in close combat. So the spear has superior reach, and I like the way that they've represented that here in this little encounter, and the fact that, you know, you blocked with a shield, stabbed with a spear, perfectly good stuff. So that kind of roll looks really awesome. I have actually seen people doing that in sparring. It's plausible. I think this game perhaps favors the roll a lot more than was ever done in real fights, but nevertheless, one detail I would say is we see here he thrusts straight into the middle of the person's chest. In reality, this would be one of the most well-protected areas. I can see that this person's wearing a mixture of chainmail and plate armor. In reality, if you were going to thrust anywhere, you thrust to the face. He's got an open face helmet, which was very common for reasons of vision and breathing and talking and everything else. So thrust to the face would have made more sense than a thrust to the torso. Why thrust at the area that's the most heavily armored? You thrust at the place that is the least heavily armored.
Brutal.
So yeah, the stab placement is a bit weird there. He seems to have stabbed him in his behind, to use the polite word. This could be an area that's got less armor, I guess. Again, if you suck up behind him, it might be the throat or something like this. But I do like the detail that he has to use his foot to push the person's body off his blade. This is something that's often forgotten about, even by people who are training with blunt weapons in sparring on a regular basis, because we use blunt weapons, they don't enter a person's body, of course, because that would be a bad thing. With a modern fencing foil or a reenactment sword or a HEMA sword, they flex. So if you thrust someone, the blade flexes, and you can immediately do something else with the sword. In reality, any type of sharp blade, doesn't matter whether it's a sword or a knife or a spear, it enters the person's body, and in that moment, your weapon is essentially immobilized in their body. And there's lots of historical accounts of, in that moment, the person doing the stabbing themselves getting either stabbed or hit by their opponent or someone else, because they can't defend with their weapon while it's in the
that kind of seems to be his
really important to
overall,
remember that when weapons go into
as he
something,
talks
they have to come
about
back
these
out
different
again.
things.
So I love that they've included that detail here. I love the way that they're showing some guard positions there. So this guard position up here in the Treatise of Fiore di Libri, which I teach from, which is a early 15th century Italian treatise, that would be called Posti di Finestra, which means the window position. It doesn't matter where you look in the world. We've got historical treatises from Japan, from China, from Korea, all over the world. You see the same positions, the same what we call guard positions, coming up again and again when you have a weapon that's similar. So with two-handed swords, this is a very common guard position. So it's great to see them including it here.
Ooh, sickle.
Ah, a sickle, an interesting choice of weapon. Obviously, sickles are agricultural tools used for things
Gee,
like
what other
turn into hay.
recent
So they're
animated
treated as
fantasy
one as a weapon.
character did we
Yes.
see with
Were
those?
they ever used as weapons? There are some
That would be
treatises. In
the
fact, there's one
worst.
specific treatise, Paulus Hector from the middle of the 16th century, that actually shows training with sickles, and these were regarded as a peasant weapon because if you imagine that you're a
Done
farmer
to
in the
death.
fields, you stop at the middle of the day and have a couple of jugs of beer, and you
Or
get
in this
into an
case,
argument
death to
with
Dunn.
another one of the farmers, and the only weapons you've got to hand are sickles. So they're in no way a good weapon, but like anything that's sharp or pointed, you can use it as a weapon. They have their weaknesses, and they're probably not that strong to use as weapons, and there are certain things you can't really do with them. But yeah, let's see. Now you've got to bear in mind, if someone comes at you with a sword and a shield and all you've got is a sickle, you are in such big trouble. So sword and shield is an awesome
Just become a
combination.
werewolf.
So you better be hoping that you've got way more skill than the person you're fighting. So do you know what? I actually love that because he's using evasion, he's using rolling, he's coming around the back and side of the person. This is actually tactically the exact right thing to do. And again, he's slashing. And
I
going
like
for weak
this
points,
guy.
think about where would you slash with a sickle, hamstrings, back of the arms. So these kind of weak points. Oh wow. Okay, so that's,
wasn't this
it's
one
big.
of your
When I
favorites
first saw
for
it,
a
I wasn't
while?
sure whether it was edged on both edges. It looks like it's single-edged, so it's kind of like a giant saber. The consequence of that is it will have an enormous amount of striking power, but will be very difficult to control. I do like the detail of the fact it's resting on the shoulder, because that really shows that the game designers have acknowledged the reality of trying to hold a weapon like this in one hand. And absolutely, if for some reason you had to carry a shield because lots of people were going to shoot at you and you were carrying a greatsword in one hand, then yeah, you absolutely would rest it on your shoulder. A spinning attack. I love it. I mean, that would, in theory, be a way to charge up a massive swing with a greatsword held in one hand. In reality, if you were fighting against a competent opponent, they would just step out of the way, and then as you swung through, they'd come in and nail you however they wanted. But yeah, it sort of makes physical sense in this scenario, I guess. So now he's slung the shield on the back and he's got it in two hands. Great. So, yeah, I mean, there is a logic there. I can understand why he had the shield when he was being shot at, and now he's slung it on his back, presumably because he thinks, okay, I need to wield this sword a little bit more quickly and dexterously, so absolutely going to switch to using it in two hands, which is the way that a greatsword absolutely is intended to be used. So I really like a detail of how he's placing his hand. He's actually doing the back of his fist on the back of the blade there. This is close to what we would call half swording, which essentially means taking your left hand from the hilt and moving it up to the blade in a number of different ways. And this means that you're now using the weapon more like a pole weapon, more like a staff, more like a quarter staff. And that is better for certain type of blocking against heavy weapon attacks. It's also much better for fighting in armor when you want to come in close to wrestling distance and use the weapon like a staff to aid you in throwing or tripping or pushing, also to help you assist with aiming of getting the point into gaps in armor. So I like that they've shown that. It's another way that big two-handed swords can be used. What this weapon looks like, how it moves, they do marry up. So the way it's moving on screen does look like how a real weapon like this would actually move. It looks like it's tip heavy. It looks quite unwieldy in fairness, but obviously it's going to hit with a lot of force as well. So I like when what you see on screen marries up to the nature of the movement and the fact that he's putting his whole body, he's using the twist of his hips, the placement of his legs.
So in
He's swinging
other
it
words,
like it
game
is a heavy
developers
object,
and
because
game
it is.
designers pay a lot more attention to this stuff than people who make movies and shows.
Oh, twinned knight swords. So this has gone a bit Darth Maul, hasn't it? Where to start? There are lots of issues with just joining two swords end to end. I'm not going to say it's a useless weapon because you can hold it in the middle and use it kind of like a quarterstaff, but you've got various issues here, including the strength and integrity of the weapon, the fact that you're quite limited in the area of where you can actually grip it. Unlike a staff, you can slip your hands down to one end, flip around, swip to the other end. With this, you can only hold it in the middle. So in terms of versatility, this is actually worse than a pole weapon. The final thing I want to say about this one is I find it super weird, given that this is supposed to be knights' swords, that they have cup hilts on them. So the cup hilt is something which is particularly popular in Spain and southern Italy in the 17th century. So this is kind of like after the age of armored knights. And when I see a cup hilt, I think of
Except this one
musketeers
seems
and
to have
being
been a
into
fail.
war and the 30 Years' War and things like this. I don't think about medieval knights. So it's not at all a knight's sword. This is more like a duelist sword, I would call it, or a musketeer's sword. I've got issues with this sword, but yeah, you could use it. You know, you could. I guess you could do some things with it. It might be fun. I mean, that's problematic on so many levels. The problem is holding it in one hand. It's going to be so unwieldy, especially with a massive shield in the other hand. If you just used it to stab, you can stab from different angles, exactly like you do with a spear, be absolutely fine. But trying to get your edge alignment correct, one-handed, with this type of weapon and generate enough force to do effective cuts, when a thrust would be more effective and easier. No, that's the wrong way to use that weapon. I do like the use of the spikes on the shield, though. I've got no problems at all with that. Very, very cool.
Historical precedent for that. too.
And now the game's changed because
So
he's now
not
holding it
necessarily the
two-handed,
same
so he
way.
can now use it. It's easier to get to index the edge and get the edge line, and you can get a lot more leverage into it. And you can use it like a staff now. You can use it like a pole weapon. Yeah, you see, I don't have a big problem with that. He's using it essentially exactly how we see a staff would be used particularly in Chinese systems. So I think that the movements that
See,
they've
someone
got
likes his
in
voice.
this have probably been based on Wushu Kung Fu, which is, in fairness, quite choreography-centric. It's quite stage and screen-centric. But nevertheless, yeah, you can use a staff weapon like that. Getting the edges aligned is always going to be difficult, but let's just say that he's extremely practiced at it. There is a real-world parallel for this. There's an Indian weapon. It's much smaller than this, but it's called the bagnak. But they're essentially a steel thing with two rings. You put two of your fingers through, and then the claws are on the inside of your palms. They don't project out like Wolverine. They sit on the inside. And the whole point is you can have them inside your fist. They're a concealed weapon, and nobody knows that they're there. Okay, so this is literally more like
Just
Wolverine's
scratch your
bone
nose.
claws. I guess one of the historical real-world parallels for this is, again, an Indian weapon called the kata. I actually have one here by pure coincidence from the 18th century with a nice gold decoration on the hilt. A kata is a punch dagger, and that is held like that. So you can see it's not very similar, and you can cut these ways, and obviously mostly it's used to punch, and you'll notice it's got a reinforced point for punching through chainmail or padded armor. So they exist, but they're quite different to this. These are more like the claws because you can't stab forwards with these very easily. They look more like raking or slashing weapons like we see with Wolverine's claws. So I'm quite happy to see that his opponents have got no armor, because I was going to say these would be useless against metal armor. But against unarmored people, yeah, they're going to be pretty horrific and do lots of damage. A little bit like having a series of sickles attached to your hands, I guess. The guy with the massive mace, which is enormous, it looks like a Christmas tree. In a straight-up fight between two equal people, the person with the massive mace would probably, I don't know, if they could lift it, they'd have the advantage, but it's so big and heavy, it's kind of going to have a massive overswing. The problem with these claws is they've got very short reach. They're the same reach basically as a knife. So against people with longer weapons like swords and maces and spears and pole weapons, you're always going to be at reach disadvantage, which means they can hit you sometimes multiple times before you're even close enough to hit them back. So one thing I really like is the way that he's avoiding there. He's kind of like shooting backwards and rolling and this kind of stuff. And with this type of weapon, that's what you've got to do. Really, if you've got these big kind of Wolverine-like claws, the only defense I can think of, if the attack comes in, you could do what we call is a beat or a rebat, which means to swipe away. So if the motion is coming towards you, if you swipe from the side, you deflect the energy off to the side. So deflecting from side to side could work. And the other thing you could do is put both claws together like a shield in front of you to block like that. So theoretically you could block with these, but against a mace it would be completely stupid. You're not going to be able to deflect it easily. You're not going to be able to just stop it. So avoiding is the right thing to do. So I actually quite liked this selection of weapons. I guess that my least favorite was the double-ended sword for a number of reasons. If you chopped it in half and made it into separate swords, each one of those would have looked like a beefed up cup hilt rapier, which would have looked really cool. But joined together, they just made no sense, and I didn't like the way that they showed them being used. And why cup hilts? Why have cup hilts on them? That only really makes sense with a rapier. But all of the other weapons I basically quite liked, and I liked the way that they showed them being used. It looked like they'd thought about it. I particularly like the claws, actually. Despite the fact there's no real world parallel for those claws in weaponry, we have to remember, what is a bear armed with? What is a tiger armed with? Big old claws. You know, we can't say that those big claws don't make sense, because they clearly make sense in nature. These are the primary armament of a whole bunch of really big, powerful and scary animals. Obviously, the longsword was a completely typical longsword, and I liked the fact that they were showing quite a bit of thrusting with it. That's well thought out. That's good. And I liked the guard positions that were shown. And the big, top-heavy greatsword, I didn't hate it. It was okay. I think I would have designed it a bit differently to either make it look more extreme and more fantasy, or to make it look more sensible. It looked like it was sitting a bit too much in the middle ground. It hadn't gone enough fantasy and it hadn't gone enough sensible, and I didn't really understand why he was using it. A normal greatsword like a Zweihander would have made more sense, I think. But overall, I actually quite liked these weapons, and I think they were not ridiculous. They were not massively over fantasy. They looked believable. They looked decently proportioned for the most part, and I liked the different ways that they thought about how they might be used.
For more videos like this one, make sure to stick with
Alrighty.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Someone's distracted.
Well, there wasn't really much to comment on, really. It was just like, okay, cool. It's actually accurate.
Have you watched part 2 yet?
No, I haven't had the chance to.
Part 2 is, well, and I suspect he has more than a part 2 as well, because there's a lot more weapons in there. But yeah, he covers continues to cover, I guess, some of the more exotic weapons in
More
part
fantasy.
2. Yeah, so I suspect maybe if he's got a 3 and a 4, they kind of continue up the scale. So
Yeah. Which would be interesting to see, because just based on the one comment, he's one of those, similar to Chad, they like realism, they also understand it is fantasy. And some things are just done to look really cool and awesome.
yeah.
Alrighty. Well, friends, I think that we will conclude things there. Thank you all for coming to a quick late night, quick, i.e. 3-hour stream where we discussed a lot of different things.
That's quick for streams I'm on, technically, seeing as I made you go 4 hours.
Yes, because you were overindulgent.
Overindulgent. I was thorough.
Same difference. Anyway.
And you're not.
Sometimes. But sometimes I have to say there's a limit and we need to streamline things. All
True.
right.
But I wanted to make sure I got my 4-hour stream. See you,
sometimes there's just not enough. Sometimes certain scenes are not important enough to discuss.
I gave every scene as much as it needed.
Fair
and
enough.
we just often like the tangent.
Okay. Well, let's call it good there. See you guys later. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.